Radio, presented by Indy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got it!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Works out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, and welcome into a thankful Thursday. I can't think of any. What else is the thing to say for Thursday? Dustin Schutte with me from Saturday Tradition, as always. You got to come up with a jazzy name for Thursday.
Well, in college, it was Thirsty Thursday, right? So
that almost slipped out. I was like, I better not know if I should say that one or not. So I left that one in there. But you can't. Yeah, Thursday, all right. You got the coffee mug on.
That's what we're talking about, right? Drinking coffee. I was trying to think of something football related since this is the first, I guess it's the start of the first full week of Big Ten football, but I can't think of a TH that goes with Thursday for football. I'm drawn. It's too early.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of other things to go with it to talk about. Bishop Sycamore, more news, bad news for them. Whoever they are, I say them. Who are they again? Who fired the coach? Some unpaid bills. Well, where are these bills going?
Yeah.
Is this a post office box? Is there an office someplace? How I can't believe that someone hasn't just ran up to Columbus and said, "Hey, man, there's nothing here."
I don't understand. Okay, so I don't understand how nobody working for ESPN, nobody working for IMG, like, let me just say,
ESPN doesn't want to promote that for obvious reasons.
Well, but typically, the thing to me is typically when you see a high school game on ESPN, typically you've heard of most of the schools, right? Like a lot of the schools you've heard of because they're good recruiting bases, like DeMatha Catholic, IMG Academy.
That was the first thing I thought of when I saw the game. I'm like, Bishop Sycamore, where?
Yeah. And
but
so
when I saw who there were others that they were playing, I'm like, all right.
And so you would think that somebody like associated with the network would have been like, I've never heard of a Bishop Sycamore. Like there's never been a recruit out of there. I've never seen a game. Like it just is bizarre to me that they did not do their research on this. And like it reminded me of the movie. Have you ever seen the movie Accepted? I mean, but basically they create a fake college so that their parents aren't pissed at them for not getting into school. So, and that's basically what this is. I think it came out in the 2000s. But it's incredibly relevant. I never thought that I would think that I would see the day where that movie had some sort of real life relevance, and apparently it now does. But it's so bizarre.
Crazy. Big Ten football tonight. This is not the opening night. We've already had that, but basically for me, it's the opening night because it starts today, and then there's tomorrow and the next day, and it's just then you're rolling. Then when you get those 3 days in, the Labor Day weekend, and you've got a lot, you've got so much. Then Monday rolls around, you got to recover with the holiday weekend, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, bam, you're back right in it. You've got Thursday games again, and it's back. So it's here, man, and I'm jacked. When I saw the little bit that I got to see of the Illinois Nebraska game, it was just instant. The feeling was just like it was 2 years ago. Last year had a different feel, but you could but it was instantly like riding a bike, I guess you should say.
Yeah, it was so much fun to see fans back in the stands, celebration, players. They were definitely feeding off that kind of energy. You saw the atmosphere in the locker room after Illinois won. It was just, it wasn't just the Big Ten. It was all across. When you turn into a college football game and you see fans in the stands and Just hearing it on your television, hearing the roar of the crowd, that's something that we missed a season ago. Now, I know some conferences had fans last year, but the Big Ten didn't. And so you almost kind of got used to the fact that there were no fans in the stands if you were watching on television. Now, guys who were reporting on the games and broadcasting probably much different. But it was so refreshing to see that. And then, to have this full weekend, we had a game last night on Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Last night?
Yeah, UAB Jacksonville State.
Oh, I did not realize that was last night.
Yeah. So we have games Wednesday through Monday, and then again, as you mentioned, I think we kick off again with more games on next Thursday. So it's a 2-week period of nothing but football, and I'm so excited for it.
And yesterday, and we'll do this again today later in the back half of the show, but we'll go over some games with the numbers. And because I've seen some already that are interesting, and it's some great talking points. One of those will be Penn State. They're an underdog on the road. I think they're a better team than Wisconsin, but guess what? It's a lot of guessing right now.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. You mentioned Rutgers and Temple tonight, 6:30. We'll talk about that. But let's talk about that a little bit, though. The flooding. So we might as well get that in there. I mean, you mentioned this game is potentially in danger now. There's no place. I guess it's too late to move it anywhere.
Yeah. So the situation is apparently the effects of Hurricane Ida are causing flooding near the stadium. And so right now the game is in jeopardy, according to a report from NJ Online. And I guess from what it sounds like, the city of Piscataway is hoping or calling for Rutgers to right now play the game, but have no fans in attendance. Don't create that atmosphere where you could have potentially a lot of people stranded at the stadium or creating issues on the roads. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you still have a couple days. You could move that game to Friday or Saturday, maybe even potentially to Sunday if you really wanted to. But you could move that game and get fans in attendance. And it's kind of heartbreaking, right? Like, this is a serious situation. So we want everybody to be safe up there. But at the same time, this game was a sellout. And when you combine that with the fact that you weren't able to go to any games last year, to have your season opener be not only in jeopardy, but then potentially having to play without fans again, I mean, that just really stinks for those kids.
Yeah, and normally moving it on a weekend would not be that big of a deal. But being that this is a holiday weekend, I'm wondering if many of those people were not planning on going to the game and then on out to the Hava, out to wherever they're going to go to up there in that. But I guess go to the game or don't. But hopefully they can move that so you get to play and not disrupt their season, because now Rutgers is going to be at a disadvantage of sorts. You don't get that game in. Very important for them, especially a game against Temple, who's probably a good test for Rutgers early, but that's not like you're opening up at number 18 Iowa or anything like that. Right.
And Rutgers, last year they saw solid improvement. They went from losing 20 or 21 straight Big Ten games to going 3-6, and they lost 3 of those games by 1 possession. And Temple's a team that they weren't very good last year. I think they won 1 or 2 games, but they beat Maryland 2 years in a row. They beat Penn State back in 2015. It's typically a pretty feisty program. So I agree with you. I think it's a good test for a season opener, not quite what Indiana or Penn State or some of those other teams are facing in their openers, but a good test for Rutgers. And like I said, typically, you're right, Jim. Usually when Rutgers is typically played on a Thursday or a Friday night in week 1, because a lot of those fans head out to the Jersey Shore for that 3-day weekend. So they try to get the fans into the stadium, into the game, and then they go enjoy their weekend. So, we'll see what happens. I'm guessing if the game's in jeopardy, I'm guessing a lot of weekend plans are going to be canceled anyway. So maybe they'll be able to move that game. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll have to play it without TV. I don't know how that's going to work. But, hopefully, I just hope that they're able to, one, get that game in and and two, hopefully they're able to play in front of fans, because that's been the big allure this season. And those kids deserve it, even though this is really out of everybody's hands. There's nothing anybody can do about a natural situation like that.
Well, we've got a lot of games to talk about today. They're upcoming, beginning tonight, like I said, going through the holiday weekend. A lot of Big Ten games that we can discuss. We will discuss wow, how unplanned was this? If you couldn't see what this was and just looked at the colors, we could be talking about Nebraska, Illinois right now.
Could be. That's true.
Which is exactly what I was getting ready to start talking about. Is when I looked down, I'm like, oh, look at that. But little Scotty Frost, not a good start there. Fresno State, we'll talk about them too because of Kalen DeBoer. That's just something to talk about. But then a lot of the other Big Ten games to get to as well. But the NFL, this is great for college football this weekend as well, being a holiday weekend. There's no NFL games. They get a Sunday game. Why just one?
In my opinion, it has to be related.
And why
to
Notre Dame playing on Sunday?
Well,
that's right. They all go to mass on Saturday.
Well, let me just say that I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about people with their weekend plans to, on Labor Day weekend, the final kind of 3-day weekend, the mark of the end of summer. What kind of game is going to allure people in on a Sunday? A national brand like Notre Dame, a big time brand like Florida State. So I think that's probably why you only see one one college football game, and it's probably why those two teams are playing that night, because it's going to be that's going to be the game that gets eyeballs, right? You can't have Memphis playing Purdue or something like that and expect to get TV ratings. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why those two teams are the ones playing on Sunday night.
Breaking news, this in from Ross Bonnell. Cam Newton going to Bishop Sycamore as a player coach. Allegedly has a year of eligibility left. That's a joke if you're listening on air. Just kidding. That is pretty funny. I got to give that one to you. Yes, Tim, you are correct. J.Q. Roberts visited IU yesterday. He has been there before. He Bloomington North product. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But Bloomington South produces the football players, and Bloomington North has produced the basketball players that have fed to IU for some reason. If you look at it in a whole, it's kind of funny. We'll have to dig in. I'm going to wait to get Joe Smith on here one day. That would be a phenomenal – that I would love to have that discussion, because you got that rivalry going there in Bloomington. But, Bloomington North, a lot of basketball players. They sent a ton. We got to take a break. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Chris Denari, Matt Taylor, maybe more. Back with it. Brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you go to andymorehonda.com. Get your Honda ordered. Make sure get your car ready before anybody else does. You can get it done at andymorehonda.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans.
I haven't heard from Matt yet, but he could still show up. So usually I hear from him, though.
What in the heck was I looking for? What? Too many messages, man. Man, I'm about to get another cup today. I can see. Dustin, what's going on with you, bro?
Oh man, just getting fired up for this weekend. I'm kind of glad that we have the soft opening that we have, because there's only 7 games on Saturday, but next Saturday is going to be a nightmare. Nightmare, man. Well, I shouldn't say nightmare.
What's that?
At least from the Indiana perspective, the only thing we have to worry about is Idaho.
14. Well, I'm saying 14 games in one day.
Yeah. I get from your perspective. I see what you're saying.
That's why I like the fact that we had a week 0 game. I like the fact that we have only 7 games this week, because it's a nice soft opening, as opposed to years ago when it was all 14 games on one damn day on the first day of the season, and you're like, I had no idea what to do. I think next week is the only week like that, I think. Because I think there's Big Ten games. Oh,
Hey,
man,
John, do you have Kirk Ferentz pulled down?
Kirk Ferentz? Like his press conference? I haven't even looked at that.
Please do.
Oh, here we got Matt Taylor. Do you have anything specific you want from it, or you just want me to find a soundbite? Just find a soundbite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Matthew.
Yo.
Dustin Schutte with us from Saturday Tradition, as always.
How's it going, Matt?
Is this thing on? What's up?
Yeah, we hear you. We're good.
Can you hear us?
Go ahead and bring us. Can you hear us, Matt?
I can.
Are you out at camp or something? Are you at practice?
No, I'm back at the complex right now.
Here we go. Couple seconds. Here we go.
Matt.
This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome back on this Thursday, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Dustin Schutte with me, as always, from Saturday Tradition, and now we're joined by Matt Taylor, as we are on Thursdays as well, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts. How are you, Matthew?
Gentlemen, what's happening? Happy early weekend to you.
Absolutely. How about it's a kickoff for football, or not the kickoff. We've had that. I keep saying it, but for me, this is the kickoff, man. It starts tonight. We got games after game, and it just goes on.
Yeah.
So fired up, ready. I'm ready for that thing to get kicked off and gone, and it starts with the Big Ten tonight.
What the hell is week 0? Like, when did that become a thing? Dustin, when did we invent week 0 to get to football faster?
I don't know. I feel like it happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's something.
Did it?
I feel like since my time at Saturday Tradition, which started in 2016, I feel like it developed in there. But I mean, I feel like Nebraska's kind of feeling the same way right now. Like, what the hell is week 0? Because they did not look prepared for it.
Yeah, they're basically feeling like 0, because that's how much interest I had in that football game. Let's put it that way.
They should call it like K-1, like the military, T-1 or D-1.
Yeah.
You can go K kickoff -1, but stupid. But who cares? You bring up, you talk about Nebraska a little bit. Things are, at the top of the show, I mentioned not a great start for Scott Frost, who's hanging on by a thread right now, who has to, in my mind, has to make a bowl game. And yeah, that's not going to be, when you lose the opening game to a team that won 2 games, has a coach in his first season, and you're in your 4th, and you have an NCAA investigation, and you have a new athletics director. Not looking good.
No, I mean, I don't pretend to know anything about Nebraska football, certainly not as much as you guys, but I mean, just watching from afar, seeing his body language, his demeanor on TV, he doesn't appear to be a leader of men. He's not a guy that I don't think would inspire me to rally around him to pour my guts out on the field for a guy like that, based on
not somebody you want to play for.
Yeah, not the way he is projecting himself and representing the program on the sideline.
I laughed, Dustin. You were there at Big Ten Media Days, Matt. because his quote, he was up, and I never heard the question that preceded it, and don't have confirmation. Thinking maybe it was about the more referencing PJ Fleck, but maybe not. But he answered the question. No, we don't need gimmicks and fancy slogans here. We just ... need this. And it was a slight at one of the two, or if not both. But now you look back and, buddy, you need something. And he keeps digging his own kind of hole. I don't understand why a guy in his position would just keep digging that hole.
I don't know either. I mean, it was kind of a weird, and I didn't really have a problem with the comment because at a place like Nebraska, you typically don't see you don't see that kind of thing with Dabo Swinney and Clemson, like a traditional program.
But that was a swipe.
Well, it probably was, but you can interpret that as being taken out of context. But the fact you can't really make that comment when you haven't been to a bowl game, you've never posted a winning record, right? Like you have to just be smarter about that kind of thing, because teams like Minnesota, teams like Indiana are going to use that as, I hate using the term, but bulletin board material. He continues to give those teams that kind of stuff. And that's just, I mean, I don't know that they're going to make a bowl game this year. So it's crazy there right now.
Matt, something more closer to your field wheelhouse.
Hey, also, how many years has Martinez been at Nebraska? Is it 18? I mean, I think he was the quarterback when I was in high school.
I thought he transferred out and transferred back in. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's like Luke Recker, man. And he's got like 18 years of eligibility.
Luke Recker is a great example. Yes,
no,
great comparison.
It's always related to Iowa, but no, who's the basketball player for them now? That is he still there? Does he have another COVID year? He's the guy,
the Bohannon kid.
Yes, Bohannon, Jordan Bohannon. Yep.
Is he still there? There's no way. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me?
Nope. I think he's a sixth-year senior. He and Wisconsin's Brad Davison.
Ninth year of college.
Yeah, he's on the 10-year plan.
One more year, and he gets a pension.
It's crazy.
It's good if you can get it, right? It's good if you can get it now. Matt,
a little the injury bug continues to bite the Colts, man. T.Y. Hilton, since we've spoken last, not something that the Colts wanted to see happen. You've got an issue with COVID with the quarterback, and so other than that, things are going swimmingly.
Yeah, it has been it's been certainly an eventful training camp and preseason so far for the Colts. I think that's fair to say. I mean, if you look in the last 4 days since last Sunday, the amount of news that this team has produced, you start with the Eric Fisher stuff, then T.Y. Hilton, and then the COVID guys on Monday. Quentin Nelson comes back. You have to cut the roster down. You have to make waiver claims. You set the practice squad. Guys are going on IR. Hopefully guys are coming back from the COVID list. I mean, it has been, I think you just, watch your phone and wait 15 minutes for the next big thing to come out on this team. And so it's starting to smooth out a little bit towards the end of the week, heading into the regular season. I think 13 different individuals inside the organization have been on the COVID list, 9 players, 4 staffers, including 2 coaches, Matt Eberflus and head coach Frank Reich, to start training camp. So it's the injuries certainly are a problem, because with Nelson back at practice, he continues to trend in the right direction towards playing week 1. Same thing with Carson Wentz. Although the big thing with the quarterback this week is he's missed 3 weeks of practice due to the foot, and then came back last week and did everything in practice except for 11-on-11 work and looked really good doing it. And then over the weekend, Frank Reich, the head coach, said that Carson was going to get that 11-on-11 work this week, which was really big news on a lot of different fronts, because it's just the next step in his rehab, the next step in him being available or potentially able to play week 1. But also, this is still sort of this week, now that the preseason is over, earlier than in years past with only 3 games. This week was still, mode-wise, a preseason week. You're not You're not going full bore yet into the Seattle Seahawks with game planning and playing against the scout team. So he was going to go up against the starting defense for the Colts, and he has yet to see a starting defense in training camp before the season. He was going to go up against guys like Darius Leonard and DeForest Buckner and Xavier Rhodes and Kenny Moore. That could have only been a good thing. And now that he's missed all of this week, or will have missed all of this week, heading into next week, which, knock on wood, he can come back and get off the COVID list and have those Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday practices of next week. But those are different. Like I said, you're going up against the scout team of the Colts, or the look team that's going to mimic what Seattle does. And not that they're not valuable, it's just not a starting defense. And so that, I think, is the biggest thing that Carson Wentz has missed out on this week, being on the COVID list.
And to me, Matt, the big concern or question is not, Carson Wentz has experience. He's played a lot of years now. So to me, it's not so much the experience. It's just kind of getting that crispness, that readiness prepared for the season. Because as you've mentioned a couple times when you come on this program, the Colts have a tough way to open the season this year. And so you want your quarterback to get off to a good start. He needs to be at full strength, or he needs to be ready to go. And I think that's probably the biggest question. I think eventually, if he's healthy, he'll be just fine. But when you open the season the way you do, he has to be ready to go.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point. And if you go back to the spring with OTAs and how most of the NFL, power played the union and some of their teams, they said, hey, listen, after 2020, we proved we don't need all of this offseason work. And so the Colts came to a little bit of a compromise. Instead of doing a full offseason workout program, they basically got together for 2 weeks, but it really wasn't very intense. It was a lot of walkthrough, it was a lot of install, it was a lot of mental playbook stuff. So better than nothing, but still not a normal offseason for what Carson Wentz is used to, especially coming to a new team with a new playbook, new terminology, new weapons that he has to be familiar with. And then at the start of camp, day number 2, goes out, has surgery, misses 3 weeks. Now he's missing another week due to COVID. He's only going to have 3 practices of full go intensity to get ready for a regular season game, his first game with the Colts, when they're keeping score for real and it's live bullets and all those other cliches. And it's not like we haven't seen this before either, because last year in a truncated off season, and with Phillip Rivers coming over here and getting up to speed and doing the best of his ability to be ready for, the first couple of games, not that he was a bad quarterback to start the season, but he had his speed bumps. The interceptions were high. The decision-making wasn't as good, certainly, as it was towards the end of the season. It took Phillip Rivers last year about 4 games to really find his groove and to start playing at a very high level and an elite level in terms of yards per attempt, completion percentage, and just decision-making and accuracy were just off the charts. But those first 4 games were a little bit rocky. And I think that's what Colts fans are weary of here a little bit to start the season, is that Wentz has missed all of this time, and they could be in for some speed bumps to start the season, especially, to your point, those first 5 games are against teams that won at least 10 games last year, and 4 of them made the playoffs.
And this may be a silly question based off of what everybody went through, both at the college and the professional level a year ago, but trying to find a silver lining here with all the injuries the Colts have dealt with in the COVID-19 situation. Is there some positive you can take from this, knowing the fact that maybe the players, especially the younger, inexperienced guys, might get that realization that, hey, I have to be ready to go when my number's called. Not that they're not in that situation or in that mindset when the NFL season kicks off, but just to have that kind of knowledge and to be prepared and say, hey, at any point, especially, in these past 2 seasons, at any point my number can be called and I got to be ready to go, whether it's practice or whether it's week 1 or week 8.
Yeah, without question. That's a great point. And, I think the biggest silver lining, if you want to go that route or look at it that way, during all of this training camp missed time for Carson Wentz, is Jacob Eason. It has really elevated his or sped up his learning curve, coming in as a rookie last year, basically having a redshirt season, watching and taking notes behind Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett. It's one thing to soak up all of that knowledge. It's another thing to move to the actual practice field, game field, and put it to good use. And you could see it in the preseason from game 1 to game 3. He looked more confident. You could see his decision-making improve, his pocket awareness improved, and just overall body language. He looked way more confident in himself in the playbook and, what's being asked of him. And I think that's the biggest thing that the preseason revealed to us, is that this is not too big for Jacob Eason. He's acting like a starting quarterback now. He's walking and talking like a starting quarterback now, if the Colts need him to be, given the fact that COVID can strike at any time, especially when you look at this and it's, guys that are unvaccinated that are susceptible to being close contacts. But the RPO game is not too big for Jacob Eason. He can fire the ball in tight, close windows. Basically what I'm saying is some guys are not open for some quarterbacks. For Jacob Eason, guys are always open because he can rocket the ball in tight windows and fit it in because of his arm strength. He can throw the ball outside the numbers. So I think that's the biggest thing that the preseason yielded, is that it sped up Jacob Eason's experience, the amount of reps that he got, and that learning curve that I talked about going from year 1 to year 2 after basically getting 0 reps on the field, especially the game field last year for him.
Not to be a party pooper, but what if Eason were to go down with the injuries hitting the quarterback room so prevalently there? It's like unbelievable. Not only does he get elevated, but he goes from being a possible 2nd or 3rd on the depth chart to number 1, especially via injury. Then what happens? Because in the NFL, obviously, or any level in football, the quarterback, you've always got to have that backup there ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Ehlinger, again, another injury in the final preseason game last Friday against Detroit. Tweaked his knee, sprained his knee. He's not going to have season-ending surgery, or I should say the injury is not season-ending. We'll have surgery, but he's going to go on IR to start the season. So the Colts brought back Brett Hundley on their practice squad. He was with the team basically for most of preseason and training camp. I think he was signed a couple days in after Carson Wentz had his foot injury. So the Colts have already said they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the team, probably 2 on the active roster and at least 1 on the practice squad all year, which is what they did last year. And yeah, between injuries and COVID striking at any time, just like was the case last year, that is the reality of it. And you have to be prepared. I talked to Chris Ballard yesterday, the GM, and I just asked him, I said, how much more work is on your plate now in these last 2 seasons compared to normal year? I mean, he's obviously always busy. He's always going through the contingency plans, but in a normal year, if you have to have A, B, and C ready to go, this year you have to have D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, all the way down to Y and Z, because that's how intense this is. And the roster mechanics and the gymnastics that you have to go through is pretty intense. And it's only been underlined and italicized and bold because of COVID striking at any time. And now with a lot of injuries on the team, you have to put guys on the active roster to start the season and then put them on IR so they can come back after 3 games. That's a different rule this year, just like it was last year. It's carrying over this year, and rightfully so. And I think it should be a rule going forward. I think it should be a staple that you have the 16-man practice squad and you can bring back unlimited players off of IR after 3 games. That only makes sense. It's like baseball, just because you have 1 injury and you're going to miss a handful of games, why should you have to miss the entire season if you can come back? So I'm glad they've tweaked some of that, but it's certainly a lot of, things that Chris Ballard has to juggle. And it's like a big old puzzle piece on that active roster every week because it is just so fluid every week.
Yeah, Matt, I cannot thank you so much for joining us as always, but I wanted to ask you, what do you have? This is your last free weekend. I shouldn't say free because I don't know, but your last weekend.
Oh, it is. Trust me. You're exactly right. The Colts have the latest bye week in the NFL. So you're talking about 13 straight weeks without a week off. So that is 7 days a week for 13 straight weeks. Nobody's complaining, right? This is what you sign up for. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not working a jackhammer, right? I'm talking football. So life is pretty damn great. But it's about to start. It's about to get real. The grind is about to set in. I cannot freaking wait for it. And I'm actually heading down to your neck of the woods this weekend. I'm heading down to the lake. Going to get in some time, hopefully soak in some sun before we start playing some regular season football. Going to watch the Hoosiers on Saturday afternoon at 3:30. Going to shut off my phone to the outside world because I can't take it. I just want to watch ball. I want to be screaming at my TV. It's going to be awesome, and I cannot wait. I'm fired up, boys.
Well, man, that is awesome. I wish I was going to be here to join you, but I'll be in Iowa. But I'll try to get back here. I'll be back on Sunday, so maybe we can hook up then. But, yeah, enjoy it. Have fun. And now, just so everyone knows, as soon as the show's over, he goes and puts his pants on. That's why he's always got this black screen. He doesn't like to do shows. He doesn't wear pants when he does shows.
No, no one wants to see me anyways. Okay, let's just be real about that. But my camera sucks. And I'm not smart enough to fix it. So that's why I just go dark.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Dustin? Are you kidding me? No, I'm just kidding.
It looks like he's in a pantry. You know, like he's got some peanut butter crackers behind him or something. You got any goldfish back there, Dustin?
I was snacking on a banana earlier. I got my water, my coffee. It's all throughout here. I'm stacked and ready to go.
Thanks, your brother. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Be well.
Happy holiday weekend to the family.
You as well. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. There he is, Matt Taylor, voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us. We got more Indiana Sports Beat. And by the way, Matt brought to you by Psalms Restaurants, family of restaurants up around the Indianapolis area, also at the golf club at Eagle Point, the clubhouse. Food there. They have music on the weekends there as well. They've got Psalms has the Big Lug Cantina up there that Bob Kravitz, who is going to be with us today, he is aware of that place apparently. So we'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking...
Kravitz was with us yesterday.
Oh, that's what I said. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, yeah. I've got a sound bite from Ferentz, by the way. It's just him talking about Indiana for about a minute. Another thing that's starting tonight that literally nobody's going to be talking about, World Cup qualifying for the United States starts tonight.
World Cup qualifying.
I know. It's crazy.
Soccer.
Yeah, I figure you're not into that.
Boy, it's a rough time to be doing that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, man, especially because today is like the first big day of football since week 0, since this past Saturday.
Well, I don't even know who's all. I mean, I know the Big Ten, but.
Now, granted, they're not playing anybody. It's not like U.S. versus Mexico or anything. They're playing El Salvador to kick off the qualifying, but.
Well, still.
I'm into it. I'll be keeping an eye on it. I don't know that I'll be watching it, but I'll be keeping an eye on it.
Okay, here's what we got. Right now, Temple, Rutgers, the Citadel, Coastal Carolina, Long Island, FIU, Boise State, UCF. Ooh, sneaky. Western Illinois, Ball State, Wagner, Buffalo, Weber State, Utah, South Florida, NC State, East Carolina, Appalachian State, the Dukes Mayo Classic, UC Davis, Tulsa, Ohio State, Minnesota, Bowling Green, Tennessee, UT Martin, Western Kentucky, Houston Baptist, New Mexico, East Washington, UNLV, and Southern Utah, Arizona State.
You know, Eastern Washington has a red field. Like Boise State has the blue field.
Yep. Correct.
Pretty cool, I think.
I hate it.
I mean, yeah, I would hate to play on it and watch it, but it's cool that exists, I guess. You know what else I don't like? I'm so sick of all these basketball courts that have a bunch of crap on them.
Hey, you know what burns my ass?
What you got, Jim?
I said, you know what burns my ass?
What?
A flame about that high.
Nice. I should have known something like that was coming. You got 25 seconds, Jim.
All
right, here we go.
$170 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. It is Thursday. That means it is the start of the weekend, baby. And we've got college football tonight. So that's enough. That's all you need. We've got conference games across the board. We've got big games. We've got cross conference boards or games. An unusual amount of, I don't know, maybe because of last year I'm so thrown off, but it seems like there's a little bit more of the cross conference games going on right now. And but that has to be just happenstance of recent years because these are scheduled already. But, it just makes me laugh because I think the last game on one of the nights is an SEC Pac-12 game between LSU and UCLA.
Yep. Those two. Yeah, I think LSU's already flown out there. But yeah, that's yeah. yeah. And they've already, and USC's already scheduled a game with LSU for the future too. So that's why I said I have no idea what this alliance is supposed to be. And they've already broken that trust. So whatever.
I thought you did. I thought you knew. I thought you were the only one that knew. I thought you knew everything about the alliance and what they're going to be doing. And man, I don't want to be negative. I'm not trying to be negative, but we're always truthful here. Doesn't Kevin Warren think that surely to gosh, before you go out and say something like that, you have to ask somebody, well, how's this going to come across, guys? How do you think this is going to be perceived? It's like they're not asking the right questions to the right people. They're either asking some yes people or they're not asking anyone.
Well, I think they're not asking anyone. Again, we go back to that press conference that they had, and it was basically just those three guys patting each other on the back saying, oh, good job. Yep, we worked together on this. Good job. It was so vague. There was no answer to anything. I understand that you want to.
That's very unusual for the Big Ten, and since Kevin Warren got there, very unusual.
I just don't understand. To me, I understand wanting to maybe try to block out the SEC. I understand wanting to have more power when it comes to college football playoff expansion and some of these other tournaments in the future of the NCAA. I totally get that. It's a great. I think in theory, it's a good idea from these other conferences to try to blockade that, try to offset the SEC's power by working together. But just come out and say that. Like Kevin Warren said, this is not in response to Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC. It 1000% is. That's the only reason you're doing this. So just come out and talk about why you're doing this. Talk about what your actual plan is in place. Again, I have no idea what the purpose of it is. I know what I think the purpose of it is, but I also thought we were going to play football without any hiccups last season. And 3 days after they released the schedule, they canceled the season and then eventually brought it back. So I don't know that any of those three guys really. Jim Phillips, the former athletic director at Northwestern, might have the most sense out of any of them, but none of what anybody said made me feel confident that they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I again, not trying to be negative, but I really wonder, does the Big Ten have a media department, a marketing department, someone that says, hey, yeah, guys, yeah, that's probably not going to play real well, especially after last year's no comment, wrong comment, lack of comment, change of comment, flip of comment, rules flip. Ohio State, no, it's okay that they play less games. No, you have to play these many games. No, it's okay because it's Ohio. Nah, it's all right. Yes, nothing.
Nope.
Millions and millions of dollars being paid these people, and that's who's in charge.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, none of this stuff would have. Well, I shouldn't say none of this stuff would have happened, but I'm firmly of the belief that at the very least, I'm not saying Texas and Oklahoma would be in the Big Ten, but I'm telling you right now, Jim Delaney would not have let those two teams go to the SEC without at least taking a phone call. He would have had knowledge of that situation, because the thing that's crazy to me, Jim,
he may have gotten the first phone call.
He may have. The thing about it is,
that's the difference.
When you look at the television contracts, the Big Ten was in the best position. It was dominating the SEC in terms of television revenue. Now, that obviously changed with the ESPN contract, but you're telling me that Texas and Oklahoma coming to the Big Ten, restoring a little bit of that rivalry with Nebraska between Oklahoma and Texas, and then having that game, you're telling me that wouldn't have bumped up the Big Ten to not only have the best television contract, but have the best television contracts by a mile. Jim Delaney was a very forward thinker. He would have been ahead of the curve on this. And again, I'm not saying that they'd be in the Big Ten right now or be coming to the Big Ten, but there would have at least been some sort of fight over those two schools.
I agree. And I remember saying when the Big Ten let him go to the ACC, that was a mistake then, and it will be a mistake. The Big Ten's transfer has not gone well. You were the leader year after year, still are, but guess what? Right. You just had a monumental shift, and the SEC is charging. And changes come sometime, and nothing. But there's so much change with everything going on in sports right now, in college sports. The NIL it's the wild, wild west right now. You've got people involved in that should not be involved in it. There are people involved in it that are doing it under the guise of, it's for the kids. Bull crap. They want to get close. They want to whatever. I mean, we cover. Yes, this is what we did. This is a career. This is what we do. Right. This is, but just doing it for other reasons, no. Because you think you need to be the white knight, come in on the white horse. No, they're fine. There are so many factions I've seen, groups, NIL groups that have been formed. And I think that they're trying to get players in. And it's like, it's going to be the wild, wild west, man. And it already is.
Right. Well,
it already is.
We can bring up the Quinn Ewers situation. He's got a deal that's reportedly worth $1.4 million.
Is that the kid at Ohio State?
Yeah, the 5-star quarterback who left Texas a year early. To me, again, this is I hate to say I don't want to bring this kid down because we haven't seen him play. And this is not a knock against Quinn Ewers. But to me, that is not a smart business decision. What if the kid?
Why?
What happens if he gets hurt and never plays a down for Ohio State?
Then you mean on the part of the business?
On the part of the business, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, doing this in advance,
it's a gamble, baby. It's a gamble.
If you did this with Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, some of those guys who had played football, who have recognition, like Quinn Ewers is a pretty recognized high school quarterback. He was the top prospect by every recruiting website, Rivals, 247 Sports, ESPN, by every recruiting site out there. So he's got some sort of brand recognition. But if he doesn't,
and you know what else he has? A 3-year. It's basically a 3-year contract at Ohio State because he has to be there 3 years before he can leave for the NFL. So I understand if he gets hurt, but I bet you they have an insurance policy against that.
That you think the company does?
Oh, hell yes.
Well, see, that there has to be some sort of guarantee there on his part. I would think. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know anything about sports law. I don't know anything about law in general. But so you're probably right on that. But
it doesn't have to be. I mean, there can be. The agreement depends on what the agreement is.
But you're going to see a lot of these companies, I think, at least right now, do this. But in the long term, like I'm trying to think of a good example. I'm not going to, because I don't want to put any kids down. That's not my goal here. But I'm just saying, what happens if a kid gets that kind of contract deal, gets injured, doesn't win the starting job? We've seen 5-star players not play before. We've seen 5-star players transfer. What happens if he transfers? If he doesn't win the starting job and he transfers and goes elsewhere? I mean, is he stuck at Ohio State with this deal? Does he have to be a member of the Buckeyes? Or can he transfer maybe back to Texas or Oklahoma or Nebraska or wherever he wants to go play? There's so many ins and outs. It's just, again, from the business standpoint,
those are all details that are spelled out in a contract, in an agreement. That's what they'll have the agreement. It's all spelled out. I mean, all that stuff, that's easy. That's technical stuff, man.
Right, but I'm still saying there has to be some sort of guaranteed deal on his end for him to leave high school, to leave Texas and go to Columbus early. I'm guessing that there had to be some sort of guaranteed money. And to me, from a business standpoint, that doesn't make sense from a business standpoint.
I guarantee you they've taken out an insurance policy against that if things were go to awry on him being injured. And they have legal right to do so because they have a vested interest in him, in his health. So I'm sure they've taken out that insurance policy. Now you've got a kid coming in that is a phenom, and that basically, like I said, has a 3-year contract to be at Ohio State. So if he gets through that 3 years, and by the end of that, most likely he's going to be the guy. That's kind of how it goes there. That's what they're gambling on. But until that, even leading up to that, he just has to be near the guy at Ohio State to generate that buzz. And I don't know how they're getting all their money back. I guess it's through merchandise. A lot of it will be through signed merchandise. So that's where they're going to get a lot of their money. And you know what?
Maybe
a lot of Ohio State Buckeye fans, man. A lot of them collect that stuff. There are a ton of Buckeye fans, and it doesn't matter. They want to, and it's also going to be sold on the premise of, hey, get it now and make it more of a collector's item. You had it when he was a freshman, before he was a Hall of Famer, whatever. So, dude, big schools like Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Michigan, Penn State, they sell merchandise. They're a brand. They're a brand. Indiana basketball is a brand. But in football, they're just brands. Alabama's a brand. So, yeah. That brand goes a long way. And Ohio State is one of the schools allowing their athletes to use their logo.
Right. No, that's a great point. And so I think you're right on the get it early aspect of that. I think a lot of people are going to want to get a Quinn Ewers autographed football or Buckeye helmet or jersey or whatever the case might be early. But I'm just saying, I don't know the details of the contract. Let's take the injury aspect out of it. What if he just never wins the job? I mean, Tate Martell was a huge recruit coming into Ohio State, and he never won the job. Transferred down to Miami. Now he's out at UNLV. So that's where I'm. Again, I don't know anything about business. Maybe this makes sense on both sides, and I'm just an idiot. That's very well possible.
I'm sure they thought out the numbers. I assure you, there's. But
I guess
sports merchandise is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
I guess my point that I'm getting to is I think that a lot of this stuff that you're seeing, these $1.4 million contracts, these team-wide contracts that are coming out, I think that those are knee-jerk reactions, and I don't think those are going to last very long, because all it takes is for a few of those to not pan out, and then other companies are going to be like, maybe we shouldn't do this. They might wait and see what happens, because what happens if CJ Stroud – what happens if CJ Stroud's the guy for the next 2 or 3 years? We'll find out tonight, what he does against Minnesota in his first game. But, I mean, there's just so many different variables here. And this is why I say good. You can make the argument NIL is good or bad, but you can't say that there isn't some sort of – it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area here. So there's positives and negatives to it, and people just want to take one side of the fence. And so that's where I've been frustrated with that part of it. But, I guess that's the world we live in. Everything's either black or white, and in reality, there's a lot of gray.
Well, we'll swim in the gray, but we'll get into something else when we come back. Look into Joe and talk to Chris Denari. But is he joining us in the next segment, John?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Looking forward to it. We'll be back with more, brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty. Make sure you reach out and get a hold of her at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com. Looking for a home in the Indy area? She's got you covered from Remax Realty. Cheryl Sizemore. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Man, I'm going through coffee.
I'll have to ask Chris about his double colonoscopy, since remember he wasn't here last week and we thought he already had his colonoscopy.
I don't know if that's something that he would like to talk about on air.
I'm obviously kidding. Speaking of the devil.
Some people would. Some people would. I am not going to assume that.
What's up?
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Oh, breaking news.
Oh, what we got?
Temple Rutgers postponed to Saturday.
There you go.
Man, they got hit hard. Wow.
Yep.
I saw a picture of on Twitter of Tracy Wolfson's. I'm assuming it was her basement or whatever. My Lord, would just look like 5 feet of water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man.
Because I'm pretty sure I think she's in New York City, I think.
Man. That's crazy.
Where were they playing that? Piscataway?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Dustin, is Oklahoma playing at Tulane this weekend?
I think they moved it to Norman.
Yep.
I believe they moved that to Oklahoma.
Yes.
Because that would have been interesting. Number 2 team in the country traveling to a team like Tulane.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Irma?
Ida?
They're still cussing. Ida. It was Ida, wasn't it?
Yeah,
there was a Hurricane Irma.
Did you see the stat on the hurricanes?
No.
I'm serious. It's like I think they lead the name deal. They're the biggest. All Ivan and.
All right, here we go. 10 seconds.
Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by the great Chris Denari, brought to you by the Sam's Family of Restaurants. Any Sam's places around you?
Sam's, yeah. Fisher's. I'm in Carmel, so not far away at all. Yeah. In fact, back in the day, this is many, many years ago. This would be 30 in the 30-year range. When I did Butler basketball, there was a couple of years that we did our coaches show on Sunday mornings, and we hosted it at Psalms.
Wow.
That was many, many years ago. And let me tell you, the Eggs Benedict were out. It was awesome. But yeah, I see Psalms and of course Big Lug and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Yeah, they got it going.
I was just out at Prairie View playing 9 holes last night, and Big Lug was thriving. A lot of people got done off the golf course, and they were enjoying a nice beverage and having some good food. So yeah, very, very familiar with Psalms.
That sounds like a place Bob Kravitz would frequent.
I'm sure he's there quite a bit.
I'm surprised he wasn't there last night.
He does not live too far away.
Yeah, he evokes that name, that golf course often. But how's your summer been going? Obviously, you're coming off of taking some time off, but ready. Yeah. Season is not that far away, man. It gets here quick.
No, I was doing the math. You're right. On Monday, it will be 3 weeks until Media Day. Media Day is September 27th. First practice is September 28th. The next week are 2 preseason games on the road. And then the following week, the final 2 preseason games, they'll be at home. And I'm assuming those will be the 2 that we'll do on Valley Sports Indiana. And one of the reasons why the Pacers are playing those 2 games a little bit later is because of all the renovations that are being done to the Field House of the Future. Now, there is a concert in there. I'll be there. October the 1st is a Friday. Dan and Shay, the Country Act, will be at Bankers Life Field House. And so that's sort of D-Day when they need to have a lot of this stuff done. But then it'll be about 2 weeks later when the Pacers will have their first preseason game at Bankers Life Field House.
I keep forgetting, man. Not to interrupt you, Dustin, but I will be at a concert at Lucas Oil next Wednesday. I keep remembering it, but it's Guns N' Roses, baby.
Oh, yeah. Axl, yeah.
Go ahead, Dustin. I apologize. I was thinking November Rain.
I was just curious, Chris, what there's a lot of preparation. You do a lot of work throughout the course of the season. So I'm curious, when Chris Denari has some off time, what do you enjoy doing? How do you spend your summers? And I know you do a lot of racing broadcasts and things like that. So, but what do you just enjoy to do when you're not calling Pacers games and buried in 18 pages or probably 118 pages of notes every day?
Well, like I said, I think I've said to this group a couple of years ago, we bought a new house, which is an older house. It's 1925 Craftsman in Carmel. I've got about an acre. So I enjoy mowing grass. My wife has done a great job with how we've, put this house together. And again, somebody had lived here for a long time. Somebody bought it, flipped it. We bought it. So
is it haunted?
What?
Is it haunted?
No, it is not haunted. No, it is not haunted. And so we've had a lot of fun with that. So that's taken a lot of time. I'll be honest. I can be pretty good at doing nothing because I think and I've got to get my mind, geared up toward the season, because once October hits, it's pretty much 6 months of nonstop. The schedule is a little bit more favorable this year. There are some more gaps in it from that standpoint. I mean, you have 3 days between games. Sometimes you have 4 days between games. Last year, that didn't exist. There are fewer back-to-backs, but it's still, it's still something you have to put your mind to. The Pacers only have one national TV game in December at Miami. And so that means that we'll do 81 of the 82. And so you prepare for that. But what I've started to do is I try every day I attack 2 teams and I work on updating that score sheet from last year. So I make all the trades, put all the players on their proper team so that by the time October 1st comes and camp starts, I've got a pretty good feeling about who's where. And then I can fine tune things, as the season starts.
And will you? I know last year you did a lot of the road games, and I think even some of the home games, from a separate area because of all the protocols. Are you back on the road this year? Are you going to be back?
Stole my question.
Traveling. You going to be back traveling this year?
Dustin and Jim, that's something that we don't know yet right now. I mean, nothing has been formulated. And from my standpoint is, I know there have been some announcers that have been very outspoken about not being there, and clearly being on the road and being with your team and doing the game from that arena, I think is very important. But I also know how lucky we are in getting to do what we do. Mm-hmm. And if the decision is made, maybe to start that we're not traveling, then that's just something that you have to deal with. And so our people did a really good job last year. We had a great setup at Bankers Life Fieldhouse to be able to call the road games. The home games, we were in the building. We were up where radio is. Yeah. So Jim, you guys know, like for Big Ten tournament where they put radio maybe up in the middle level. So it was not bad at all. It's definitely different. I definitely don't think you can do as good a job remote as you can in the building. I mean, clearly that's why we've done that for many years. But I also know all the things that have gone on over the last year. You have COVID, you have financial situations. So I'm a lot of people have been through a lot of stuff, right, guys? They've lost loved ones. People have been sick. People have lost jobs and all that. So they don't need to be worrying about me if I'm on the road or not. As long as I can do the job and do it to the best of my ability, I'll do it wherever we need to do it.
Well, so I don't step on Jim's toes anymore, I just wanted to point out one thing that you and Quinn and Jeremiah Johnson did an excellent job last season. And the only times I realized that you weren't in the building, whether it was an away game or whatever the case, was when Quinn said, well, we can't see that fifth guy on the floor right now because the screen isn't panning over. So right. I thought you guys did an excellent job, and that's a credit to you guys and then your entire crew there at Valley Sports.
Well, thanks. And, I think we have it a lot easier from a basketball end than baseball. I'm a big Reds fan. I watch a lot of baseball, and I think those guys have really done a good job because, they're watching. They probably do have multiple cameras, but still you are watching the screen, behind the pitcher, and that ball is pitched and then it's hit. And then if you don't have the second screen, you've got to rely on the director to know where that ball goes. Because let's say you're in the press box at Great American Ballpark. You see the ball pitched, you see the ball hit, and you see where that ball is going to right field, left field, center field. A lot of times you can't tell on a telecast where that ball is going. So, I think everybody that has had to do this, and it's been all over. I mean, golf, auto racing, football, baseball, basketball. I think it really shows the talent of the broadcasters that are out there that they've been able to adapt to do this.
What are you looking forward to before you get to the season? What are some last things you want to get done? Just go out and play in the garden or things like that to get your hands dirty. I know you like to do that.
Yeah, we have a trip. We have a wedding to go to next weekend. A good friend's daughter's getting married, so we're really looking forward to that. My wife and I will be heading to the Blue Ridge Mountains for about 6 or 7 days. We've got a cabin near Asheville, just as a way to get away. We've not done that. A lot of times we love to go down to Anna Maria Island in Tampa, and we do that periodically, but we just had never done anything where we had gone to Asheville. We've driven through Asheville a lot on our way to go visit our oldest son who lives down in Myrtle Beach. So we're really looking forward to that. And, it's just enjoying the next 3 weeks, playing some golf here and there. I'll still be able to do that, I think, in the month of October prior to the start of the season. Training camp is different than it used to be. It used to be there were 2 a days. Now it's just really a practice a day. So there's still time to get off and do some things and get ready for the season.
Well, we're looking forward to that, but I'm looking forward to that just waiting out a little bit because we're just getting into college football.
Oh yeah,
some games tonight. We're all jacked. It's just going to be like a weekend. It's like a big sugar rush.
Oh, no
just gonna be, it's like we're going to be like a 9-year-old eating Snickers bars all weekend.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, one of the great things that I love to do, and I think I'm going to do it on Saturday, I'll watch games, but I love to get the mower going and get out in the yard.
You say that all the time. You have said that before.
Put my headset in and listen to Fish, or listen to Purdue. I'll go to Sirius XM and just start flipping around games. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this weekend, and the weather's going to be great, guys. I mean, it's going to be 70 in the 70s for college football. So yeah, last week was week 0, right? It was 0. There are about 6 games. Yep. This week is the weekend that really kicks it all off.
Yes, this is the real week 1, man. Looking forward to it. I hope you have a great rest of your week and weekend, and enjoy the weekend and some college football.
All right.
A pick for the Indiana-Iowa game. Well, that's Matt Taylor get out with that, didn't I? Dang.
Boy, that's what Iowa. Both teams are top 25, right? Because Iowa's like 18th.
Indiana's 17.
Yeah, I really believe in what Tom Allen has put together, and they've got a good group. This would be a huge win, I think, for everybody. Everybody's up, and they were good last year. I think they're going to be a good team. I'll take Indiana.
Purdue is playing Oregon State. They're at home, I do not remember. Daggone, I do not remember the.
I don't even know what time that game is, but that's a tough opener.
I think it's a late. I think that's a late game that night.
Is that a late game?
Yeah, I'm looking for their. I'm looking for their logo to jump out at me, but it hasn't, unfortunately. So I can't. No quick recall on that, but. So I don't know what the spread is on that.
And then, hey, a big one tonight for Mike New and Ball State, right? Thursday night football in Muncie.
That's right. They're part of kicking things off because the Temple Rutgers game, we haven't even mentioned that shit on there, did we? Moved to Saturday because of flooding from Ida. Yeah. So there's a game that won't be on the schedule tonight that to get in the way of the Leathernecks coming to visit the Cardinals. So there'll be more eyes there. Wagner, Buffalo.
I was going to say, guys, have you seen the pictures? And I haven't been up there. Our youngest son went to Ball State, and I really like what Mike New has done. Have you seen the pictures of their new indoor football facility? I mean, I think they were one of the last teams in the MAC to get one. It looks outstanding. It really looks neat.
It makes a difference, man. It's the keeping up with the Joneses now.
Yep.
But we'll have a great night of college football. You have a great weekend. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot. Appreciate you so much. You betcha. Right. The great Chris Denari, the voice of the Indiana Pacers, joining us, brought to you by the fine folks at Psalms family of restaurants around the Indianapolis area and at the golf club at Eagle Point Golf Club. Make sure you stop in at Big Lug Cantina. Favorite spot of several people we know. Hey, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
I'll be right back, y'all.
Oh, man. Yeah. Are you filing out of a jail cell or laughing?
Me?
Somebody. I don't know what was going on.
Is John's dog in the cage?
Is that a metaphor or a song?
No,
title?
You said you said jail cell. I didn't know. I don't know. I don't hear anything on my end unless there's.
I'm just kidding. My level of humor is like Charles Grodin.
Well, I wasn't paying attention, so.
Most people don't.
I was looking to see if there was any other updates. Wow, only one Big Ten game tonight now.
Hey, at least it's the one that people really care about.
You don't care about Rutgers Temple? Come on.
Well, hey, now.
And I said people. I didn't say me. My goal was to watch the first hour and a half of Temple Rutgers, and now I was going to switch over.
They'll get the game in. they're going to lose a few eyes. They're going to lose a lot of games. They play Saturday. Nobody's going to watch this game.
That's true. Unless you're in Piscataway. Jim, I don't know if you heard me earlier. I do have a quote from Ferentz if you ever want to pull that up between now and the end of the show.
Who's coming up next?
Nobody. We don't have any more guests unless you have Hulls.
Okay. Oh no, I forgot. Nobody. No,
trying to see if you know what.
Me, nobody. Oh, ain't got nobody.
Time is still to be determined.
What for Saturday?
Bull Ruckers.
Yep. Man, I'd probably go. Let's see. What do we got? You're
not going to be able to find an open slot unless you want to compete with Pac-12 after dark.
They're not going to do that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not going to happen.
My guess is they're going to go noon.
I don't know why you're all wasting your time. Nobody cares.
All right,
I care.
Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. It is Thursday. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition with me as he always is. Alec Lasley will be here tomorrow. We'll talk some basketball. Also, Tom Kakert from Iowa Rivals. We're going to get it going. Speaking of rivals, we're going to have the Rivals. Ooh, what a segment. Hello. Thank you. You're welcome very much. Thank you. You're welcome. Please pay your waiters and waitresses on the way out. Yeah. I don't know if I said this on the air yesterday, but and I did another show the other night, and it just seems like the Iowa take, and this is not a scientific study, but from that little bit of interaction, from previous knowledge of a lot of places, not because it's Iowa, but a lot of people aren't even considering that they're going to lose that game.
Who?
And Iowa.
Okay.
I think a lot of Iowa fans are not even considering they're going to lose that game. And I know that every base has that, but I think that 75% think that they legitimately think they're going to win that game. And while I don't consider myself, I am not a homer. I don't care what anybody says. I look at anything. I just see Indiana superior. Now the ball bounces how it bounces, and that's bounces funny ways, but Indiana's better offensively. They're better defensively. That does not mean they're going to win the game. You still have special teams. You still have the crowd. You still have the first game of the aspect. So there's a lot of things that go into the equation, but there's a reason that Vegas made him a 3-point underdog. That's a coin flip on the road. That is a coin flip in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is telling you, yeah, I'm like they're like 50-50 at best on Iowa. And a part of that is that we talked about this yesterday. It is, or was it earlier today? Don't even remember. It's what's on that jersey, man. This was yesterday. It's still Indiana does not get that recognition. Iowa, they do, but which is okay.
Well, right. I mean, nobody in those two locker rooms is probably focusing on that aspect of it. But the interesting thing to me is the defense is really going to be the strength for both teams, both Indiana and Iowa, in my opinion. I think that Indiana, the biggest difference to me is I think that Indiana has a lot more answers on the offensive side than Iowa, but I don't think it's that much of a difference. Indiana's going to have to be able to establish some sort of a run game. They don't have to rush for 200 yards or Stephen Carr doesn't have to have this breakout performance, but they have to be consistent, almost like Illinois was against Nebraska in that week 0 game. I mean, you go back and watch it. It wasn't like Illinois was ripping off 40-yard gains. They had a few explosive plays, but mostly they were able to get 3 or 4 yards here. They were able to get 2 or 3 yards there. They were able to wear down the defensive line of Nebraska. And I think Indiana needs to be able to do some of that to a degree, because I've said this before. Iowa's secondary is really good. They got Matt Hankins, Jack Kerner. They've got Dane Belton. They've got a lot of really good playmakers. So if Michael Penix has to throw the ball 40 times, that's not a good thing for Indiana. So you have to – it doesn't have to be 200 yards, but you have to be able to run the football. And in the past, Indiana hasn't been able to do that. I think they're better on the offensive line. I think they're better at running back. So I expect it to be a little bit better. But if you see issues with the run game, that's where my concern for Indiana creeps in, because you don't have a guy like Walt Phillier anymore who you can throw the ball, a bubble screen, and he's able to get 6 or 7 or 8 yards. You don't have that guy, in my opinion. So that's where my concern comes in. If you can't establish the run, it could be a long day for Indiana.
Yeah, that's something that I've said going into this season. The running game is something that has to improve. Mm-hmm. It has not helped. It has not hurt them in the past couple seasons, but it hasn't helped them. But if you're not helping, you kind of are hurting because you're not doing what you need to do, like you just talked about. You're not giving that relief to the passing game. You're not giving that relief to other options. But they've gotten away with that to a degree because Michael Penix is Michael Penix. He's special. And Ty Freifogel is special. And now you add DJ Matthews. So, and a more experienced, little deeper offensive line. Yep. And you add Delon McCullough as a running backs coach in that running backs room, that while they lost the experience of Samson James, they gained Stephen Carr. Obviously, he won the starting job. So, and I know there's a previous relationship with the coach, and that I think that the running game there's no way that by adding all of those positives right there, that running game is not going to be better.
I agree. I think it's going to be better, but I guess my concern is Iowa's defensive line and linebacker play is usually pretty good. So that's right. Where I have some concerns on the Indiana standpoint. I think throughout the course of the season, there's no doubt it's going to be better. I'm just saying I think it has to be better in this game. And we've mentioned this on this show before, and I don't know why it doesn't get more talked about more, I guess you could say, is, again, I still have questions because Spencer Petras has not played in front of a crowd. I think that's going to be a big deal. Maybe not throughout the course of 60 minutes, but when you look at what Indiana can do and how they can put pressure, if they're able to rattle him early, I mean, that might make a big difference, because we've seen Indiana has been able to make quarterbacks panic. I mean, they made Justin Fields panic a year ago. You don't have Jamar Johnson back, but you do have some really good pieces. You got Tywan Mullen, Reese Taylor, you got Micah McFadden at linebacker. You've got some nice guys on the defensive line. So if you're able to add or get pressure on Spencer Petras early, and he makes a couple mistakes while he's getting used to playing in front of a crowd of 70,000 at Kinnick Stadium, that could be the tone setter. And so that's where I think that, to me, that's a big deal, because yes, he was last year's starter. Yes, he's getting into a rhythm with his guys. They are adding some new pieces at wide receiver. They are adding some new pieces on the offensive line. So how's that going to come together? Again, Iowa to me is a developmental program. It gets better throughout the course of the season. It's not like they're bad to open the year, but generally they play teams, a MAC team or an FCS opponent, in that first week of the season, and that's kind of where they work out the kinks. And they don't have that opportunity. Last year we saw it against Purdue. They dropped a game they really should have won. And that's where I have this same sort of concern for Iowa. They're going to be good. It's going to be a tough game to play. But what's Spencer Petras? How does he respond to that environment? And, can Indiana's defense, if they're able to get pressure on him early and rattle him, I think that goes a long way throughout the course of that 60-minute game.
You're talking about a defense that led the Big Ten and Iowa has a great defense. You mentioned the secondary. While they've had the most interceptions in the last 4 years overall in the FBS, I think Indiana led the Big Ten last year in interceptions, and they were second in the nation with I think it was 17. That's a program record, and it was a shortened season.
Right.
So they also led the Big Ten in takeaways. They also led the Big Ten in sacks. So this is a defense, and this is a defense that's gotten better with Ryder Anderson coming in from Ole Miss. He's a big old dude out there, man. And they made some tweaks on the defense. And I'm not putting Iowa down. What their offensive line's going to do, but what you talked about, he's going to have. I think he's going to have some guys in his face.
I think so too.
You got All-Americans across the ball. It's going to be very interesting, but I don't think that Iowa fans realize, based on a lot of the comments from the last time we talked about this last week, I don't think they realize this Indiana team is that good. And I think that they're focused on Michael Penix's health, on whether or not he is healthy or he's not healthy, like he's halfway. Dude, he's healthy. He's healthy right now. He is healthy. Now, if he gets hurt, I hope, pray to God for no one to get hurt. But down the road, that's that. But right now, today, healthy. Healthy is just 100%. And so that is what it is.
Well, right. It's positive because you've heard Tom Allen talk about the press conferences. He has a command of the offense. He's throwing the ball really well. He's performing at a high level in practice. But to me, you're never going to have a coach say bad things about his players. So you almost throw that out the window. My question is, all of that changes when you're back on the field. And Iowa's defense, like I said, Indiana is going to be better in a lot of areas. They're going to be better in the run game. They're going to be better at the line of scrimmage. They're going to be better, I think, at the point of attack. But again, when he takes a few hits, what's that knee going to feel like when he starts taking more hits? What's it going to feel like if he has to run or scramble? And I don't think he's going to do that a lot, and he shouldn't do it at all. But what's it going to be like when he gets knocked around? When he gets, when he eventually is going to get sacked once or twice in this game? And so, I don't know what to expect from him, just because he is coming off another injury. He should be at full strength. But again, once you get in that game atmosphere, once you get hit a couple of times, I think that's more where the injury question comes in, because it has been a while since he played. And what's his mentality going to be when he takes those first couple hits? He's a tough kid. There's no question about it. But you can't say that that's not going to be a factor, in my opinion.
I can't disagree with you because I'm not in his head, but just being around him, the amount we have from media days to practices, man, he has not lost. Not is he not? He hasn't lost, but I think he may have gained a little more swagger. He's completely confident, but more. And I talked about this. He's got a frame. He's got this V frame. He's bulked up. I didn't see a difference between last year and the season before that. I didn't see that physical difference. I'm sure there was a slight. I see a difference. I mean, physically, wow. I was like, whoa, up at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I was behind him, and I'm like, man, you can just see the definition. It's much different.
Yeah, I mean, that probably speaks to his recovery, his rehabilitation, his training. When you're not able to be on the practice field, you got to find something to do. And so strength training and getting into the best shape of his life, I'm sure, is a big thing. So, again, this is not – I agree with you. Going into this game, he's going to be 100% healthy. My question is about his mental and does he start to hurt a little bit? Because, in that game, if he gets knocked around, because those guys, I mean, you still have Zach Van Valkenburg, one of the best defensive linemen in the Big Ten, coming back. And when he's coming into your face, when he's running into your face there, it could get into the mentality. So, that's where I just have some questions about that. But overall, I mean, I like Indiana in this game. I think they're going to win as well. I think there's a lot of factors at play. That's just where I have my biggest question.
Recruiting. How big is this for recruiting for Indiana.
Huge.
For a couple of these big in-state kids that they're trying to land right now. To see them go out and win this big game at this time as they're drawing closer and closer to making a decision.
Well, not only this, but imagine, let's say Indiana wins this game. They are almost assuredly going to beat Idaho, probably pretty handily. And then you welcome in, probably, I don't know how Cincinnati's schedule shapes up, but probably a top 10 Cincinnati team. If you're able to start 3-0 with wins over two ranked opponents, I think the commits might start flooding in, especially if you get a good group of visitors for that Cincinnati game, and you kind of see that atmosphere. That's why it's important for Indiana fans to show up to that Cincinnati game, because if you go 3-0 and you have a good crowd, a good showing, kids are going to want to start to commit. I mean, we've already seen 4-star kids are coming to Indiana. We're starting to see 5-star kids are including Indiana in that top 10, top 12. You've talked about it a lot. They haven't landed a 5-star recruit. Maybe this is the class that they finally get that. And if they get off to a hot start, and on the other side of that, if they go 1-2 to start these first 3 games, it may have the adverse effect. You might start to see those kids be like, maybe Indiana was a one-hit wonder. So these 3 games are incredibly important, but you're right. You can really set the tone in Kinnick Stadium. If you're able to walk into one of the most hostile environments in the Big Ten, get a win over a ranked opponent, and start the Big Ten season off 1-0, that's going to be absolutely huge in recruiting.
Yes, I think that you've already seen the bump in recruiting, and a lot of that through the transfers. But I think that both will increase. Obviously, the transfer market, that could be way more lucrative, and by lucrative I mean talent-wise for Indiana, because these are guys that they're already developed. You see these guys like the writer that came over from Ole Miss. Man, they come over and have success, join a winning team, a winning program in a winning league. Boom. You're going to just see a lot more of that because that's the one thing those programs like Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson have is a ton of those guys that aren't all getting to play.
Right. And
if you show, once Indiana shows that they are consistently competitive, it's there.
Well, and it's like NFL free agency or NBA free agency at this point, right? Excuse me. You look at what teams are starting to do now. Look at what Purdue did. Look at what Indiana has done. Instead of recruiting a team and saying, you know what, we're going to take a step back because we don't have the running backs, we don't have the offensive line, we lost some key pieces in the secondary. You might be able to go out and recruit those kids, and that's what you're going to do for the long-term solution. But you also have a short-term solution where you can say, you know what, we need a really good cornerback. Let's go plug and play. Let's go get a guy from the transfer portal who was at an Alabama, an Auburn, a USC, an Ole Miss, and bring them in. You saw it even at Michigan State. Kenneth Walker transferred from Wake Forest. He reinforces that running back room up in East Lansing. Tennessee linebacker Quavaris Crouch, he transferred from Tennessee to play at Michigan State. He's going to be an immediate impact player. Teams can address immediate situations and say, you know what, instead of, we're going to go out and recruit those 4- and 5-star kids, but rather than waiting 2 years to get them on the field, we're going to get this guy who can come in and make an immediate impact, who has the experience. Maybe he just needs to learn our scheme, get into our chemistry, and understand our staff. And that's what Indiana has done with Stephen Carr and some of the other guys that you have mentioned. And that's why I think in addition to recruiting well, in addition to getting so many guys returning, they were able to get some of these guys that they can just plug and play. And having that experience, especially in a week 1 opener on the road against Iowa, is absolutely huge because these players have played in big-time games in big-time atmospheres before.
We'll be back to do more. We'll talk some more college football, but we're going to talk about the games that are going on tonight and some that may be coming up tomorrow. We got some high school action coming up tomorrow, all kinds of stuff. So, and guests tomorrow. So we'll talk about all that. And we've got some exciting stuff to talk about soon, man. I'm just biting the holes in my lip, trying to keep it in. But this segment brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. if you're pizza, burgers, and beer, if you're down there in the Clarksville area, Southern Indiana, right off of I-65 on the east side there, it's worth, man, that food is amazing because it's made freshly, handmade every day. And I have eaten it a ton, and I love it. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Ooh, look at him.
Go Knowles.
Treading. Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? You don't know this? Man, I got to explain it again.
What?
He's my Washington State flag.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but if you're listening, I had to SYA a couple of days ago, and it barely really counted. You didn't appear, and I had to throw it up. It's like I had to go to the trunk and grab a Washington State flag and run out. You know, behind the college game day, there's the guy that waves the Washington State flag. Yes, he's my Washington State. He lives down in we used to work in television together in Louisville at the CBS affiliate. He lives down in Florida.
Gotcha.
Tallahassee. He lives down in Tallahassee. I don't know what that is.
It's a great game against OSU, PSU, Iowa, and Cincinnati. That going to get you an invite to the NFL. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, yeah.
Yep.
I mean that, but that doesn't matter whether it's a transfer or not.
Well, but here's an example that I think is applicable. And he just got released. The running back, Jordan Howard.
Uh-huh.
Does Jordan Howard get the notoriety? And we might as well save this.
Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore. Make sure you go to andymorehonda.com, get your Honda ordered, and get it here. You can do that right now, and they'll take great care of you. That's what they do, and they do a great job of it. Tell Miss Marcia I said hello. Miss her. She helps him keep packed away the Knowles flag every week.
Oh, nice.
I'm kidding.
Oh. You got to let me in on some of these inside jokes.
Man, dude, have you ever seen? Did you ever see Charles Grodin and anything he did?
No.
No. My favorite Charles Grodin movie is Midnight Run.
Okay.
It's him and Robert De Niro. And Charles Grodin is really funny, but he is just deadpan constantly. Never, it doesn't, sometimes he gets excited, but it's mostly just dropping in Real dead subtle jokes.
So what I have to watch now is Midnight Run and the IU bicycle movie.
The IU bicycle movie.
Yeah, what's the movie we talked about last week?
It won an Oscar, thank you very much.
From the 19th. What was the name of the movie?
I'm not going to tell you if you're going to call it the IU. I'm not.
I guarantee you, if I type into my Google machine IU bicycle movie, I guarantee that will pop up.
Well, of course it does.
Try it right now. IU bicycle movie. Breaking Away. There we go.
I wasn't going to tell you.
Well, I just said I legitimately typed in IU bicycle movie into Google, and Breaking Away, the first thing that pops up. So Midnight Run and Breaking Away. Those two titles kind of go together.
You're endearing yourself less to Hoosier fans than those who write for
both
Indiana and Purdue sites.
I picked the Hoosiers to win. What more do you want from me?
Did you?
Yeah.
Where?
Multiple times I've picked IU to win.
Do you have your score picked?
Do you want me to save that, or you want me to go out and say it now?
You can say it whenever. We'll talk about it.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think Indiana wins 27-24. Now, this is significant for two reasons. Obviously, one, right. Indiana gets the win on the road. Number two, Iowa actually has a streak dating back to 2019 of holding opponents to 25 points or less. I think Indiana's offense is too good. I think their defense is going to create some turnovers, give them beneficial field position. And I think that Indiana wins the game, gets a big road win in week 1 over a ranked opponent, and then 2, snaps that I can't remember the total number of games, but that basically year-long streak in which Iowa's held its opponents to under 25 points.
You're going to get slammed by the Iowa people that catch this, because last week we talked about this matchup coming up, and anybody that responded from Iowa, well, of course, I guess, what are they going to say? Yeah, I agree with you. But that's why I'm my opinion is they're looking at it from, I'm thinking like 75% that they don't think that they're not losing this game. It's going to be a tough game, and Indiana's a good team. But in the end, Iowa's going to, give the old college try, and they're going to win the game. And I'm like, man, I try to respond to everybody, but I went back on there, and I'm like, man, this is not Indiana 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This defense that led the Big Ten last year in interceptions, in Big Tens, in red zone percentage, opponent percentage, opportunities, and whatever else, takeaways, they're better. They're better. They've gotten better. And that's nothing against Iowa in any way. I just think Indiana's defense has enough that makes it better than Iowa's, but the offenses don't compare. They do not have a Michael Penix, period. They don't have a Ty Freifogel, period. We don't know if they have a Stephen Carr, because we don't know if Indiana – I was going to say, we don't know if Indiana has a guy that can match them on that side. That's the thing about Indiana. I don't know if Indiana has the guy to match them in the running department, but I think that they are going to do that. Now, that's going to be tough, again, because you mentioned the streak. We talked about it yesterday. Indiana their defense has not given up more than 25 points. He said since 2019. I thought it was 21 games. Someone on the comments said 22. So 21, 22 games. It's a long streak. It's a long time. You're going back a couple of years. That shows they're having a really good run defensively. And they managed to maintain that through COVID. Which is something. But again, my score is similar to yours. I've been saying 27-13.
Oh wow.
Indiana was second in the nation in interceptions last year. And Iowa, you talk about, as Petrus kid, not having played in front of a crowd yet, I don't think he's going to be lighting Indiana up. They also led the Big Ten in sacks. So that's a great combination if you're looking at defensively. A team that led the league in sacks and interceptions. So their running game now, but that leaves way for a running game. You can create holes and havoc with a running game by cracking off 60-yard touchdown runs. And is that possible? Absolutely. We've seen them in years past use their tight ends to artistic precision. Do, and just kill you. Don't know what they have with that right now. You would know better than that on me. I haven't studied their tight ends, but along with that younger, inexperienced quarterback.
Yeah, I think they'll target Sam Laporta is a pretty good tight end. I think they'll target him quite a bit in their passing attack. I don't like to typically compare teams, but I'm going to for this reason, because you talk about Iowa not having a Michael Penix. That's 1,000% true. I don't think there's any question about that. I think Michael Penix is the top quarterback in the Big Ten returning this year, and I think Spencer Petras is probably somewhere. I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. I think he's probably right in the middle. In that, I think I had him ranked 8 or 9 in my Big Ten quarterback rankings. I have to go back and see specifically, but look at Art Sitkowski. Look at Brandon Peters. Look at how Illinois used those two quarterbacks in their last game. Art Sitkowski did not light anybody up. He was 12 of 15 for 125 yards. I mean, in 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He stretched the field. If I remember correctly, he threw 1 deep pass in that game. So my Google machine, I saw that comment. But my point is, I don't think Iowa has to use him as Indiana uses Michael Penix. If they're able to shorten the field, get the ball to Sam Laporta, if they're able to establish the running game with Tyler Goodson, he's really good. I'm going to get an atomic wedgie apparently in Bloomington for not knowing breaking away.
I warned you.
You did warn me.
I warned you.
So I just think that Iowa doesn't need to use Spencer Petras the same way Indiana is going to use Michael Penix. If they're able to complete, 65, 75% of their passes and get him in good situations where maybe he stretches the field once in a while, then that's where I think that could be advantageous for Iowa. Hey, I own a shirt for can we please bring up the clip of me picking Indiana in the This Week in Indiana Football podcast?
So I don't have that clipped immediately, but
but you do have Tom Allen, right?
For what?
A clip from Tom Allen we haven't played.
Oh, I have several clips from Tom Allen that we haven't played.
Let's play the first one that you have queued up.
I don't have anything queued up. What do you want to hear from Tom Allen? That's what I want to know.
Okay. All right. We'll be back to that in 1 second.
What?
But I don't know what you have cut out there, John. So whichever one you grab, brother, shoot the first one out to us.
John Krasinski's first movie was
if you want to hear from Tom Allen, let's just hear him talk about Michael Penix for a second. Here we go.
Yeah, so I would say that, really encouraged with Michael's progress. And, I know we've talked about him for the last several months. And probably every time I've spoken, I've gotten a question about him. And understandably so. But I think that, all along it's always been about just constant progress, constant working for him. And matter of fact, met with him this past weekend and met with several different guys and for different reasons. And he and I talked about that, and I really compliment him on his just, buying into that process. I know how hard it is. You're going through fall camp. Fall camp's hard, and, he's doing more than he's ever done in regards to every time we had a special teams period or a different type of period. He was always with the training staff doing extra work, with our both weight room staff as well as our medical guys, just doing rehab and strengthening and conditioning and just doing extra things, and did that all fall camp. And but even did last week, so he bought into that. He understood that was part of it. It was a constant process to get him ready for September 4th. And so very encouraged by his progress, and he's right where we hoped he would be. And he's, 100% ready to be the starter on Saturday. And so that's great. And then
that was Tom Allen talking about the readiness of Michael Penix. And like I said, there's no health. He's ready to go. And he looks the best that I've ever seen him. Kirk Ferentz talking about Indiana and this game coming up. Let's hear what the Hawkeye head man had to say.
Turn our attention to Indiana. We're looking at a veteran team, a really a good football team, and they're good in all three phases. So they've got a lot of good veteran players back. They've also added a significant amount of grad transfers that we don't know a lot about, but and how they'll factor into the equation. But what we do know is that these guys are a really well-coached football team in all areas. They've played extremely well, had two very successful seasons the last 2 years. It just goes back, Coach Allen, when he took over, had a clear vision, and he and his staff have done a really great job, not only having a vision, but they've built a really, really good football program, and we're going to see a really good team on Saturday, so we know that. That's what's waiting for us. Good in all three phases. Quarterback is an outstanding football player and clearly a leader for them. Bunch of experience and size up front. Good receiver core. Number 3 is a real good football player, and defensively extremely aggressive, very, very aggressive, very attacking. Done a great job with the turnover, takeaway margin, and also penalties, and good on special teams as well. So all in all, just sizes up for a great challenge for us in our first game. I think we're all eager to start. We've got to finish the week here, do a good job there. And
Kirk Ferentz talking all nice about Indiana, as they usually do. You know what would be great to see? It would have had to have been Steve Spurrier to do it, coming in to say play Florida State right now at their level, where Florida State is now way down, when he was way up at Florida. And I'd love to have seen him come to a press conference and say, well, I'm just going to be honest with you, free shoes you, buddy. They're way down, and we're probably just going to kick their tail. We're just way better than they are. They are not. I would just love to see that one time.
Well, you know what's funny is we talked about earlier, you brought up the comment Scott Frost made at Big Ten Media Days about he didn't need sloganeering, or, they didn't even need any motto or mantras or anything like that. And he kind of gives teams or certain opponents that bulletin board material. Kirk Ferentz is the exact opposite. I mean, he will find a way. If they're playing a high school team, he will find a way to make them out to be the greatest high school football team in the world. So he does a great job of those pressers. He's very, he always sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he doesn't give opponents that extra fuel to their fire. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Well, that's because he is consistent about that. And you know what else he consistently does is wins.
Yep.
It's not, that's a correlation there. Look at what Tom Allen has done. It's a different style, but similar in a way. You don't need to berate. You don't need to you can do it another way. You can get championship level play another way.
There's a reason Tom Allen said that they kind of try to emulate the success and the consistency that Iowa has had. I mean, it's a model that works. Obviously, Tom Allen is a lot different kind of character than Kirk Ferentz is. But at the same time, he also understands you don't give teams anything to kind of circle the calendar for. He kind of keeps it in his locker room. He always talks up the opponent. There's a lot of mutual respect there. Even though they're two very different head coaches, there's a lot of mutual respect and a lot of similarities in the way they kind of operate and the way they have a vision for their program.
Yeah, very much so. I think that if you put a gun or put a slingshot to Tom Allen and forced him to pick a coach in the Big Ten that he respects the most, that Kirk Ferentz would top that list without question. And I think possibly the other way around because of what Tom Allen has done and how he has done it. So lots of good positive things to talk about, man. I can't wait tomorrow can't wait. I can wait for that, but heading out to Iowa tomorrow, probably planning on doing some stuff before and after the show. We'll just posting it to our normal places. So look for it. If you're going to be there, send me a message. If you're going to be there, wouldn't mind doing some pregame stuff, and definitely going to do some postgame stuff as well. But let me know where you're going to be. If you got a group, just let me know that. There's 1,000 ways to reach me via message. Trust me, everybody finds them.
And
Dustin, how about you?
I was just going to say really quick before you go, I'm jealous, not just for the fact that you're going to see a live football game with fans back in the stands, but that you get the opportunity to participate in one of the best traditions in college football, the best tradition, and participate in the wave. Not being able to do that last year, I'm sure was devastating for those kids in the hospital and their parents and the medical workers. So being able to see that for the first time in 2 years, that's going to be awesome. So I hope to see a lot of videos on that because it's special every week, but this year even more so. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I've got to plan out what I'm going to do. I got to get out of the press box somehow because I want to be outside doing that. So looking forward to that as well, very much so. Well, yeah, absolutely the greatest tradition in all of sports, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But man, there is a great way to end it. Looking forward to it. Your prediction, you said 27-24. Indiana not only covers the spread, but gets the win. I agree with you, man. I think they could hold Iowa to less than that. I'm probably going to stick with my 27-13 score, but we'll see. But, brother, I appreciate it. It's been a great, fun day as always. Thanks a lot to Chris Denari, Matt Taylor. Most importantly, thanks a lot to each and every one of you. Without you guys, we've got no reason to be here. For Dustin Schutte, John, the producer, thanks very much. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.